Welcome, Ashes, party of 5. Your table is ready. The first round is on us. Hello, everyone. How are you? I'm here with the 3 other co-hosts for our podcast, Ashes, party of 5. And I'll have them introduce themselves in just a moment. The title of this podcast is Stressing Out About Stress Testing. And we're going to be going over the experiences that each of us have from the Alpha 1 stress test and kind of things that we expected and didn't expect. I have with us Virtek, Reckless, and DeathsProxy, and whoever would like to start with the intro may go ahead.
Hello, I'm DeathsProxy. I am a YouTuber, sort of, and I have led many guilds in previous games, such in Black Desert more recently as the raid leader for Grind on EU, as well as a raid leader for Tortuga in Arcade.
Hello everyone, Reckless here, playing from the US. I'm new to content creating and I come from Star Wars The Old Republic. I did a bit of ranked PvP there, and I'm excited to talk about Ashes of Creation with you guys.
Hey, Virtek here. I go back as far as one of the first MMOs I played was UO. Whole lot of fun. Still compare every game to that one. It was kind of amazing. Played some SOTOR, some WildStar, 2 fun games that just kind of fell off. But here we are. Hopefully this will pick up the mantle and keep running.
And I'm your host, Chibi Bree. I've done cosplay and streaming and pretty much a lot of college. And I'm been playing World of Warcraft for about 10 years, and I got into Ashes, and I'm pro PvE. So the main topic is the stress test, and we're going to talk about how it played for us, how the mechanics were for us, what would we change, was it how we expected, and any other thoughts we have for it. So, Death, why don't you go ahead and start us off?
It played pretty well. It was pretty smooth overall. I didn't have any problems playing. My PC's kind of a beast, so I wasn't expecting too many problems, but no, it was quite a smooth experience, really, overall. Okay,
Reckless? How did it play for you?
You know, gameplay was... It was okay. There was a few different mechanics that I ran into issues with, but overall, I would give it a 8 out of 10 if I had to rate it. 10 being the highest you can get, 1 being the lowest, of course.
And Virtek?
I think it played all right for me. I mean, obviously with just a couple of hiccups here and there. It is still alpha, by the way. Once we actually got into it, I mean, I had fun. I mean, I died a lot trying to figure out how the buttons work and whatnot, but it's still a fun little adventure.
Okay. And for me, I enjoyed it a lot. It wasn't necessarily what I thought when I heard Battlegrounds initially. I thought it was going to be more like the World of Warcraft typical Battleground, but the Battle Royale version that it ended up being was not really what I expected. Give me just a moment while we deal with the technical issues of the voices.
Reckless, he needs to shout a bit more. The volume up.
It wouldn't be an Ashes of Creation podcast if it wasn't some type of audio
there
issue.
Sound issues, exactly.
The curse of the audio issues. Quite the vexing.
Alright, because on my end, I have you up as loud as I possibly can, so.
And am I still coming in low, or how does it sound now?
Sounds sexy, bruv.
Oh, why, thank you, DeathsProxy. I'm blushing over here.
Need to get you guys a private voice chat.
That's for later. That's the after party, bro. Get in there.
I missed that invite.
This is an Alpha 1 invite, so you're going to get him in the Alpha 1 and do some one-on-one. The squad's opened up. Oh boy.
What squads opened up?
Okay, so mechanics. How did they play for you guys? Was there anything that surprised you, or was there anything that you expected or you would change with the mechanics?
It was pretty much Fortnite for the most part. It's pretty much your typical battle royale game, you know, from start to finish. Some of the actual weapon and skill mechanics were different overall, like the way the meteor worked and how the range and the melee and the chargings, you know, different from what you might expect from those kind of games. But overall, the entire aesthetic was definitely of that of a battle royale game. Very comparable to Fortnite, surprisingly.
So yeah, mechanics. I thought it was interesting how you got the little bar in the bottom, and you had to actually select equipment to equip it. There wasn't like the actual paper doll where you could grab it and then drop it right on that way. You had to actually select it on a number bar. I guess it was a fun way to keep the stockpile of weapons down. You had to choose a handful only, and that's all you could use, which was kind of a neat aspect. Although using potions took the better part of 3 games to figure out how to use them.
Yeah, just to touch on what you just said, Virtek. As far as the actually selecting the gear you want to equip, that caused me to die a couple of times, which I didn't like. Of course, being an active PvPer, but overall, just to kind of agree with DeathsProxy, it did give that Fortnite feel to it, and the mechanics though overall worked very smooth. It was a very smooth Fortnite, if we're going to use Fortnite as a reference, right? It was a very smooth Fortnite, especially to be in alpha state. There was a couple of the chest mechanics where you walk up to the chest and you open it up and the gear comes out. A few times for me that did not function properly, so I was sitting there repeatedly trying to open the chest and it wouldn't open. Other than that, I had no complaints. The game was very smooth as far as the mechanics are concerned.
Yeah, and I can say kind of the same thing. Some of the chests I had a little bit issue with. The thing I had the most issue with, though, was those darn potions. I had them in my bar, and I could not figure out for the life of me how to use the potion. And I ended up getting so frustrated because I died to one of the other guys, and and I was like, how do you use the potions? And the person's like, oh, you just gotta stand there and click it and hold it. I was like, man, I wish there was like a how-to, you know, for that ahead of time, but I never did get a chance to test it out again, so in the upcoming one I will be testing that out. Okay, so what would you change about the stress test? Is there anything that you're like, I wish this was better, or would you change anything?
Well, I mean, Stephen said the stress test, or at least this iteration of it, is purely for testing the skills. You know, it's not so much they're not planning to keep this, I guess, mini game in the final version. From what I could tell when he was talking to me, but they are using it to test the skills. But if they were to keep this in the final game, I would say they need to make the TTK a lot higher for start, because people die pretty damn fast. It's very much like a third-person action shooting sort of style game rather than an RPG fundamentally, you know. I think it also needs to add its own twists, because right now it is very much just a clone of other battle royales. It could use some more fantasy vibes. I don't know, you know, maybe making the chests turn into mimics, so, you know, when you get some loot, it ends up eating you instead, you know. Something that makes it a bit more of a unique flavor to what it currently offers, I guess.
And, you know, I was going to say kind of the same type of stuff. For one, I actually do hope they keep this in the game, to be honest. It would be a great little time killer. Like, you're not going into, like, ranked PvP with the previously mentioned stuff, like with the maidens and the snakes and capture points and all that. Because they do have other stuff planned. This isn't, like, the only thing they're doing. So it'd be neat for a little time killer. Like, it's not ranked. It's just you go in, kill some time, just refresh yourself from the normal humdrum of your whatever you're doing throughout the day. But yeah, the time to kill was ridiculous. I mean, there were 2 rounds where I got in, and as I was looting a chest, before I could even grab the weapon that hit the ground, I was dead. Boom, like done. And the blind was ridiculous. The blind had me just, I couldn't see anything for, it felt like 10 minutes. It was crazy.
The only thing that I would change personally about the stress test itself would be I wish they would have integrated the actual classes, right? So basically how we're testing the abilities is we're testing the abilities based off of each item that we pick up. So each item has a different ability attached to it. I would have preferred to see which abilities went with each class. I mean, we could kind of assume, hey, the meteor coming out the sky is going to be a mage class, you know, or a summoner class summoning the fireball down. But I would have liked to see the actual class matching up with their abilities rather than, you know, the battle royale type feel.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting for me to see that the battle royale was a classless thing. I kind of was excited by that though. The whole running around looking for gear, looking for things to fight with, and potions and mana and everything. Although I learned too late that you could repair your gear, but I still had a lot of fun with it. One of the mechanics, though, that I would probably change is more so the fact that right now the battle royale part of it is a solo player, and I would have so much more fun if I was like on a team, or if I was on a team and I had like the healing ability, you know, something I'm a little bit more used to, because again, I did think that, you know, it was the whole battlegrounds kind of, again, coming back from World of Warcraft, the idea of a battleground from World of Warcraft. But again, stress test, there's room for change, there's room for improvements and things that they're going to be changing even this week, so I'm pretty excited for that. Based off of that, though, was the stress test how you expected it?
Initially, no. You know, you go back about 3-4 months ago when they did the live streams, and they talked about what was going to be in Alpha 1. Initially, they were talking about, you know, sieges and horde mode and the 5v5 and 3v3. So I was expecting more of that on release, but then when they showed the footage, I guess that kind of made it look a lot more like a straight-up deathmatch. And then, you know, they started talking more about it, and people started looking and analyzing it more. Then, yeah, it started to look more like a battle royale, and, you know, the jokes were made, memes were made, and eventually it just basically was a battle royale. So maybe not at first, but, you know, when they started dropping more information, it was definitely, you know, gave the hints that it was going to be as it was.
Alright, so I mean, I kind of got everything I wanted out of the test, really, because to be honest, again, we're still in super mega early testing, and everything's definitely set to change. There's probably not one thing in there that's gonna still be in there at launch, except for maybe some of the terrain, but that's about it. But so yeah, at this point, I got pretty much exactly what I was expecting.
I would honestly say I didn't go in with any expectations, just because, like Virtek said, we're so early in the testing phases. So I know things are subject to change. So when I go into an alpha test like this, and for me, it's my first time ever going into an alpha for any game. I went in with the idea to try to find things, to break things, to report bugs, things like that. So whatever they threw at me, it was just it did kind of throw me off, don't get me wrong, but I kind of went in with no expectations, just going in to try to help the game for a smooth launch when it's ready to come out.
Yeah, and I could say the same thing for me, honestly. There wasn't really too much that I was expecting from it. I mean, I did expect it to have its bugs that it had, but at the same time, I also expected that they would overcome those bugs. And part of the issue is that they were working on, you know, their own personal computers as far as the server base, so there's only so much that they can handle. But I'm pretty excited to see where that's going in the next testing coming up, because they're sending out 3,000 invites today. So if it's not already in your mailbox, it'll be there soon, because that's what they said on the Discord officially. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and open up the chat a little bit. So if anybody in chat has anything that you'd like to ask or add, or if anybody here has anything that they'd like to add on to something that was said earlier, But yeah.
I mean, I'll at least jump in by saying, like, maybe I'm just all sunshine and rainbows. I don't know. But everyone that downs it as being, oh, it's just another battle royale. Like, yeah, it's just another battle royale, except for the fact that the other battle royales are pretty terrible. And this one I had fun with. So, I mean, it's swords and sorcery. I mean, they have some adjustments to make, but as an additional mode in the game where you can just go in and have fun, just no classes, no whatever, just jump in and go for it. I think it'd be pretty neat. Just that's how I'm going to warm up for the day. I'm going to jump in and I'm going to play a quick battle royale round, and then I'll go in and do my whatever.
And maybe he goes in with the armor that he got from questing and raiding, but he doesn't come in with the weapon. So when you get dropped down, you have your armor already set and you already have your class abilities. But when you land, your only job is to kind of find the potions and the mana potion, the health potions and mana potions and the weapons of your choice, and go from there. So I could kind of see that possibly being a thing.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and open up to what some of the people I've been trying. I need to perfect this. That's why it went black. I apologize. I was trying to add your question to our pop-up screen, but I'm going to work on that. So, okay, let's see. Going back a little bit here. At the real Gem Boy, Bozy, not Boy, sorry. Obviously, this will change, but what weapons did you enjoy playing with or thought was really OP?
Spear. Without a doubt, hands down, the spear was definitely
Hands
the most
down.
overpowered. Hands down. There's no room for discussion there at all. Spear all the way.
I had fun with the arrows though, because I could stay far away from the combat and like zoom in and attack them like a sniper. So I found that kind of fun. Okay, what frustrated you most about the test?
Queue times, because there's only like a couple of servers and a lot of people. So sometimes you'd be waiting 30 minutes for a game. I think that was probably the most frustrating part, is just waiting, really.
Yeah, absolutely. That and the time to kill. Those are my two hot button points right there.
I kind of got tired of resetting my launcher. I don't know about you guys, but resetting my launcher a few times kind of bugged me, but it didn't happen very many times, and especially in the second testing phase, it ran smooth. So
yeah, I didn't really get the launcher thing. I was fine. I mean, sometimes I have to just close the game and reopen it, but the launcher I didn't have to have a reset, which was quite nice.
Yeah,
I think that was more of a you issue.
Marinor, sorry if I ruined that at all. What was the favorite skill that you used and why? I didn't really get to use skills. I died like 90% of the time within the first minute of the matches, so I'll leave these open to other people if they have a favorite skill.
My favorite skill would once again spear. Like on the spear, this is why the spear was so strong. Well, there's two spear skills. One is life drain, which obviously is extremely overpowered because you can literally heal up from the other person doing damage to you, so you can almost always win. And the other skill that was on the other spear was a stamina drain. So, if you hit someone with the stamina drain first, they would lose their stamina and therefore couldn't attack you. So those are probably like my two favorite skills just because of how overpowered they were.
Yeah.
Me, like, it had nothing to do with how powerful it was. Like, I liked Paladin's Might because it gave me a shield, and I love tanking. So I felt tankier, I looked tankier. I had more fun with it. Whether I won or not, that's a whole different story. I may not have killed too many people with it.
I was on a nice little, not to toot my own horn, but I had a 5-player kill streak going on, and I was down to my last bit of health. I maybe had 30 health left, and the invis saved my life and actually got me that 6th kill. I popped the invis, and the guy literally ran right past me, and I'm sure the other player spectating me was kind of just dying laughing at their computer like, oh my god, you're about to die right now because you just walked right past him. So yeah, the invis was definitely my favorite.
Foxes is asking how many skills or abilities could go on the hotbar?
3 at any given time, quite literally. You can then switch them out. So for example, like you had a spare set of armor on your hotbar, which you could have up to 5 items carried. You can then switch that item out and switch the ability on your hotbar. But at any given time, you can only actually have 3.
Yeah, 3 active. because you had one ability for your chest, one ability for your boots, and one ability for your weapon. And if you changed weapons, your active ability would change. But then you had 5 spare slots that you could put stuff in, which could be a bunch of other items, or it could be like potions or
Yeah, for example, you can cast invisibility on yourself, but then put another chest of invisibility on, like equip a new chest, and then use the skill again. There was no cooldown in that regard, so you could basically carry around 2 invisibility chests and use both of them.
And for the final question of this area is from Aegon TV. Does melee versus range feel on equal footing, or does one seem to have an advantage at this point?
Magic OP.
I don't know about Magic being OP. Because everyone can use everything at the moment, there's no classes. You tended to use both. You didn't really use one or the other. You kind of used, if they moved out your range, you'd pull out a range weapon. If they, wand was pretty strong at long range because it was hit scan, you could just literally aim and hit the target. Whereas melee, was probably stronger in terms of damage and usability and movement. But, different situation, different weapon, really.
Yeah, I don't know if somebody just has better aim with the bow or something, but I got hit by a couple bows that took off almost none of my life. But there would be a magic a caster with like a little wand, and they'd snap me with one time, and I explode from the inside out, just like microwave oven, and just poof, I'm done, toast.
I mean, coming from Star Wars: The Old Republic, I played a lot of melee, so the melee felt a little bit more smooth, and it made me feel more at home. I kind of knew how to position myself and where I needed to be to get the best of my melee abilities. So melee felt better for me personally.
I had fun with the bow. It was enjoyable to kind of zoom in. But yeah. All right, I'm going to go ahead and switch up main topics here, and I'm going to go into the introduction part of this podcast because this is our first podcast, and I'd like you guys to kind of get to know us a little bit more. So first we're going to talk about how we found Ashes, what made us want to back Ashes if we did, any other MMORPGs that we've played, and what we're most excited for with the Ashes of Creation launch. So whoever wants to start us off with that.
I guess I'll go first. It's quite a long story why I found about Ashes, but at the time I started my YouTube channel, I was covering a game called Dark and Light, which was supposedly an MMO, but turned out not to be an MMO. After the realization of that, someone actually DM'd me from Steven's Guild over YouTube in my comments, and he sent me a message directly on YouTube. I think his name was Teddy Verzetti, one of Steven's own guild members, and Steven had recently announced to his guild on their TeamSpeak that he was producing his own MMO. So Teddy Verzetti contacted me and said, hey, you should cover this game. At the time, there was only a website, there was no videos or any content really to go on, so I was kind of scrambling around for information on this game and trying to get a video out as soon as possible, really over no information at all. That's pretty much how it started, and then Steven released a video like a couple of days later, and then I set up a Discord, so that's pretty much how I found out.
Okay, cool.
For me, me and an old guildie from SWTOR was looking for a game to play because SWTOR was sadly dying. And as we're like looking through, latest upcoming MMORPG on YouTube, we got an ad. It was very strange. It was an ad, and it was for ArcAge, and ArcAge had popped up, and we started looking at like related videos to games similar to ArcAge and so on and so forth, and we ended up coming across the Ashes of Creation Kickstarter YouTube video. And when we came across it, we was like, oh my goodness, this is gonna be the next big thing for sure, like hands down. This they have it, they have the magic. From the very first time I saw the video, I was like, that's the game right there, that's the one. And I did a little bit, had to do my research, so I did a little bit of research and kind of read through the Kickstarter, and I was like, oh my goodness. And it was the very last day of Kickstarter for me, and my credit card would not work. For some reason, it would not work.
Oh no.
And so the very next day, it was like, all right, Kickstarter's over. and I'm just like so sad. And then next thing I know, they're like, "Oh, we have the summer crowdfunding," and I'm like, "No way, awesome!" And so I got in there.
Cool. And Virtek?
Yeah, me, so I ordered a fancy digital watch, like a smartwatch off of there that had little hands over it and everything. I was really excited about it. And that was my first foray into Kickstarter. Well, one time I was really bored with the games I was playing. WildStar was kind of spinning down the drain little by little. So I started looking around for what else I could play. And nothing that was really out there. And so I started looking on Kickstarter because I had to check on the watch, right? It was still in delivery. And I ended up finding just, hey, new MMO. Let me check this out. And I read top to bottom on the Kickstarter page, mentioned something about a Discord. So I jumped in the Discord, talked to some people real quick, and I think by the end of that week, I jumped on the I forget the name of it. Was it Braver Worlds that had the lifetime sub? I jumped right on it. Before that week was done, I was in.
I found Ashes in a similar way. I've been playing World of Warcraft off and on for the last 10 years. And most of that was playing with my dad. I know, cute. I started playing video games with my dad. And I was in his guild. And he and I haven't really been able to play a whole lot. So I was kind of getting bored. And I didn't really like where World of Warcraft was at the moment. So I started looking for new upcoming MMOs, and I had seen actually a video DeathsProxy made on it, and I was like, oh wow, that looks really pretty. When is it releasing? And I was like looking around, and I followed the Kickstarter link, which was over because I found it 3 days after the Kickstarter. And basically, I realized it was in Alpha 1, and I was just like, wow, it's not coming out for a couple of years, which is fine. It gives me more time to actually focus on college work. But, yeah, that's pretty much how I found Ashes of Creation. Got bored, was looking for a new game. So what made you want to back for Ashes?
I mean, I guess I followed the game long enough, so it was like, might as well back it. And I think at the time there was other MMO like crowdfunding projects, but none of them really had an appeal to me. I think Chronicles of Elyria didn't really have any draw for me. It looked very much like a role-playing tool set rather than a game. Crowfall looked very instanced and, trying to do lots of survival mechanics and other things that are quite odd. I don't think it really fit what they were trying to do initially. It looks okay now, the combat, but I wasn't really drawn to it then. Just a lot of games just didn't look very enjoyable. So, I had this MMO that looked like an MMO and had features I liked. The caravan system particularly, it just said, PvP, back me now, because I'll get decent PvP eventually when it comes out. So, yeah, that's probably why.
Nice.
Yeah, I again, after looking over everything on that same day that I found it, just the amount of player agency in it was bananas. Like they had announced that they were doing a lot of PvP stuff, a lot of PvE stuff. It was going to be a lot of intertwined this and that and the other, and looking at the node systems and the videos on those and how everything plays together. It was just choices matter, and they're gonna extend for a while. It was sandboxy and theme parky, and it was a little bit of everything, but in a way that ties together really well. But especially the sandboxy that's not too sandboxy, if that makes sense. Like it's not just we're not going to have anything happen in the world unless you build it. Like you have to build stuff, you have to make stuff happen, but things are going to react to what you're doing, and that kind of sold me on the idea right there.
I 110% agree with Virtek. Like the fact that your actions matter, that drew me in initially. So when they told me, hey, you're going to come into absolutely nothing but terrain, and as you're progressing, as you're building, as you're crafting, as you're PvPing, everything that you're doing is contributing to a bigger picture. And I think that drew me in initially. But then when I started looking in deeper, and I seen the world PvP and how they're going to have the sieges over the castles and the metropolises and just the open world, PvP with bounty hunters hunting people that's killing people for no reason. those type of things really drew me in, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is it for sure. So they hooked me.
That's pretty awesome. I got hooked because I personally, my background is initially I started off as a video game design art major, and I learned some video game design techniques, and I even had to create a little mini game with a group as a group project for a final. And so coming from that experience, the alpha, quote unquote, was mainly like a little circle or like a square that was like moving around on the screen, indicating the player, and like there was other things on the screen as well, indicating like enemies and stuff. So from coming from that aspect and being told that what we saw in the Kickstarter was Alpha 1, and just how gorgeous it all looked, I was really excited. It made me definitely want to start backing it. So what other MMORPGs have you played? I know we already kind of talked about this, but kind of going more extensively into it.
Yikes. I think it's quicker to name the ones I haven't played, to be honest with you. I did start back with Ultima Online was it 95? I can't remember. It was such a long... Was it 97, 95? I can't remember. It was a long time ago. And played pretty much most things since then. I don't think I've played Blade and Soul. I think I skipped that one. I think I skipped Wildstar and a couple of others. I played an excessive amount of Black Desert Online, an excessive amount of EVE Online, and World of Warcraft, and the usual tropes. So yeah, I've played nearly all of them. I can pretty much gather.
Yeah, and see, I skipped Black Desert and played an excessive amount of Wildstar, so I'm kind of opposite you on that one. But yeah, I started my first MMO ever. It was terrible. You got to look it up. It's called Xenimus. It's spelled Xenimus. This was in forever ago, a long time ago. So this guy runs a server out of his basement, I think, and it's like Nintendo graphics, really bad, but people still pay like $5 a month for it to this day, and I don't know why. But either way, I moved on from that to Ultima Online after I got bored of that one for a little bit because I ran out of people to play with because I moved, and people that I wasn't living nearby didn't want to keep playing with me. I don't know why. Anyway. So I ended up jumping from beta to beta to beta. I played a zillion betas and alphas until they went gold, cost money, and then I dropped them. Things like Risk Your Life, Maple Story, RuneScape, all that stuff. I went to WoW for a bit. Again, Wildstar kept me for way too long. SOTOR, actually Hammer with Guild Umbra ended up helping him out with the Tour Syndicate website for a bit there. That was a whole lot of fun. Learned a lot there. Then moved on to Final Fantasy. Actually, I played Final Fantasy 11 back in the day too, for like 2 months, and then I walked away from it because it's way too much walking. And then Final Fantasy 14 nowadays, and now I'm playing the alpha for this one. I like it.
Oh my gosh, I'm scared to go next because you guys set the standard so high just now. My gaming background isn't as extensive as DeathsProxy or Virtek. I played Star Wars: The Old Republic mostly, and it was the first MMO that really like caught me and brought me into the community, and it was very toxic to say the least, but at the same time the community was very loving on the other end, so kind of like a Sour Patch Kid. If you held your own in PvP, then it was really sweet, but if you got stomped on by somebody that was like one of those big names and up there on the leaderboard, then you got the sour part of the candy. But for me, this is my first MMO that I'm actually in an alpha test on. So I've never done this before, popping my cherry, so to speak, with Ashes of Creation, and it's really exciting for me. It really has like my heart racing, and I'm really excited to be a part of this community, and I've received nothing but positive input on the game from the community, so I'm super excited.
Nice. So my MMORPG history is World of Warcraft for about 10 years. I loved reading and everything in there. That was really fun. I've done, funny enough, when I was younger, because I lived with my grandmother, there was some restrictions with that, but I did Fiesta Online, which is like a more like kid-friendly MMORPG, and it was super cute looking. I've done Ragnarok Online. I've done, oh, don't you laugh at me. I've done, I tried BDO for a day and then I uninstalled it because too grindy. I got bored within like an hour. And I play Final Fantasy XIV on the side now, and Ashes once it finally comes out. But in the meantime, A1 testing and A1 in general. So, what are you most excited for with the Ashes launch?
Ooh, you know, the same thing I like about any MMO, really. I like the drama. I like the intrigue. I like the infighting. I like the, you know, the spats between guilds, the competitiveness, the feeling I need to rush to get to certain places, you know, before other guilds. You know, that feeling and part of being a community and being loved and hated by very large amounts of people at the same time. Just the general things that come with an MMO, and I think Ashes will give a good tool set to facilitate that. You know, with the caravan PvP and the sieges, I think it has a very good base for that kind of MMO player that wants to be involved in all the social and aspects that come along with competitive scene of PvP.
Oh man, most excited for with the launch. See, now that's such a specific question. With most excited for the or most excited for with the Ashes launch specifically is going to be the launch party. I'm just saying, I'm going. It's going to be amazing. But as far as the game itself goes, I'm excited to see where things go as far as the nodes. Like I really want to see how they develop, how quickly they develop, where and why. Really, I want to see maybe certain areas are hunted more because there's just amazing forest and water that just people can fish out of, and that's why it develops. Or, you know, because there's such a great landscape there that people want to develop it on purpose, and that's where they do all their hunting on purpose. Like, try and see if there's maybe a reason or correlation as to why certain cities develop in certain areas.
I'm super excited to just be a part of a game, a MMORPG that on launch day, right? Like Star Wars The Old Republic, I got in maybe a week after it launched, but to actually be there on day one, it's going to be my first time ever joining a game on day one of it going live, and I think that's what I'm most excited for, is to log in with everyone and see, oh shoot, I can't log in because there's a queue to get onto the server because so many people are logging in at once. I'm excited for that. Like, I want that. If it might seem kind of weird, but I want to be like, oh man, I gotta sit here for 2 minutes, 3 minutes because there's a queue time. I'm just really excited for the launch itself, actually.
I'm pretty excited to see the classes and the augmentation of the classes. I particularly am interested in cleric, so that's kind of something I'm looking forward to. Also, I would love to go out and explore the world and the nodes and see where the best one is for the guild, or like the nicer looking ones are. In general, just go sightseeing and exploring. But I'm also excited just to see how the world, because each server is going to be a bit different, so I'm excited to see how the world changes. I'm going to go ahead and open this up to the open chat segment of our second half of the show here. I'm looking for any questions that you guys have for us specifically with Ashes of Creation, as far as like our thoughts and opinions, that, or if anybody would like to add on anything to a previous comment somebody made. I do see Drakios in the chat saying, what are each of your plans within the game for when it comes out to full release?
Well, I have my guild plans and my personal plans, I guess. Guild plans are obviously, you know, being a force of reckoning on the server to some extent, you know, having PvP and the shenanigans that come with that. But as in personal, I would like to take a portion of a node, you know, a mayor position on a node. That would be one of my goals personally. I think that's a good thing for my self-achievement to go for. Usually in games like, for example, Elder Scrolls Online, I was one of the first emperors, and I held quite respectable titles in the same regard on BDO. So yeah, definitely going for something that I consider a personal achievement on release would definitely be it.
Ooh. So let's see. So plans. That's a tough one for me because I have so many things I'm really looking forward to on this. And in case, because I don't think I announced it earlier, but like of all the different points of view here, I'm the one that's like pro PvP, pro PvE, pro crafting, pro everything. Like everything in this game has me just going nuts. So I think my plans are really going to be to honestly to support the guild that I'm in, and their goals, and try and support all of my teammates in that endeavor, and get our goals accomplished first, and then I'll go off and, based on whatever I find along the way that really intrigues me to the highest degree, that's what I'll probably go on to make my own personal goals after that.
Me personally, I'm coming into the game, and on a personal level, I'm enjoying it. I'm not at a rush to get to end game. I'm not in a rush to, I'm not really in a rush for the end game stuff. When I get there, I'll get there. But I'm just literally coming in. I'm enjoying the game. I'm enjoying the graphics. I'm enjoying the quest line. I'm just literally coming in and just completely just engulfing myself into the game, just immersing myself in. So as far as my guild is concerned, we're gonna be hardcore PvP. So once we do get to end game, our goal, of course, is to find ourselves on the leaderboard.
And my personal goal for the game once it's launched, like what I'm most excited, looking forward to and everything, is I want to check out the PvE stuff. I want to see how the nodes change and what is going to affect us when the node changes. They have explained before that there's going to be certain circumstances that result from the node leveling up, like a creature might attack us or a new dungeon will become available, and that's kind of something that I'm going to be focusing on more so, is just gearing myself up for the PvE content and making sure that I have decent gear for that. Now, I'm sorry, but I think this was the real Jim Bosey said, a lot of games have promised sandbox aspects where your decision matters and failed to deliver. What do you think makes Intrepid different?
Well, that's a really good question. I believe that what makes Intrepid different is the fact that the actual cities with the NPCs are gonna base their spawn locations off of the activity that's actually going on the server. So where some sandbox games, you get like a multiple choice question, right? There's like choice A, B, or C, and you pick one, and it slightly changes your quest line, but nothing that is just like, game changing, right? But with the fact that a city is going to spawn with NPCs that other players can interact with and can go down a quest line, and they can change something to where it routes your quest line in a different way, and you're like, oh my gosh, I was just on yesterday and I was doing this quest that was leading me into the forest, but now something happened to where the forest burnt down and now I'm going over here. So, and that's all due to live player actions. And that's what we're getting from the development team as being their goal. And I think that's what's going to make Ashes of Creation stand out from your typical sandbox multi-choice question game.
I don't think I can top it. To be honest, that's pretty much exactly it. Like there's actual reactions rather than just things in the world are going to change to it. No, these are actual, like, landscapes are going to alter and dungeons are going to open. It's not just, is there going to be maybe an NPC that walks around saying your name and cursing you because whatever. No, like actual events are going to transpire based on what you do, and what you do as a community mainly. And that's the real thing, is whatever you guys choose to do as a community, wherever your node develops and you push that forward, that's gonna, I mean, you can't top that. That's just the biggest impact to player agency and how it impacts everybody else's game. It's I don't know, it's gonna be great if they can pull it off well. It's gonna be amazing.
And honestly, I think my favorite part in all of this is the fact that every single server is going to be different. Yes, there are going to be the same nodes on every server, but no, not every server is going to develop the same nodes the same way. Maybe one server will develop certain nodes on the further west and north side, and another one's developing nodes on the south and east side. They're going to have completely different experiences, not to mention, each area is going to have a diverse weather system. So for some people, it'll be freezing when they first develop that node, and later when it warms up, perhaps there's a dungeon under the water that they couldn't access beforehand because it was frozen over. That's one of the things that make me super excited, just because literally the time of year and also what server and area you are in determines what kind of game you get. Not to mention, the more people you have questing in the same area, the faster you'll build up that node.
I think it's
yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think a lot of it's to do with people curbing their expectations of what a sandbox actually is. You know, some MMOs will label themselves as a sandbox, but in fact all they're saying is it's just open world. Because you know, look, BDO, for example, is not a sandbox MMO, it's an open world MMO. I'd say that's a vastly different concept, but marketing often throws these buzzwords around to try and, you know, increase sales. You know, sandbox sounds nice. Sandbox means like you can invent your own story, etc., etc., right? It's a very appealing word to use in a marketing sense. I think in regards to Ashes of Creation, it's going to be a sandbox, but in the extent of EVE Online is a sandbox. EVE Online, you can't really change that much about the universe. It's a set, you know, a canvas, so to speak, but you can influence things that happen within that universe. So it's not quite a full sandbox, but it will give aspects that you can change and influence. So, you know, it's about your expectations of what a sandbox is. It's not going to be Minecraft, but it might be a bit more like EVE Online in that sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and see, you know what, just to like toss one more thing into that whole discussion, is I can't wait to see the day when all the communities and all the different cities that are on a server decide to collectively that they're going to have a war, and whichever node gets destroyed needs to recreate a node somewhere else, specifically because they want to experience a different story that a different server found because they built up a city in a certain area. And I want to see just wars created specifically because they want to change what's happening in the world.
And for our final question, it came from, I have to scroll back up now because the chat moved. From White Wing, what did the hit registry during the Royale feel like? Did it flow well?
Well, I mean, I've got a different experience possibly from the other two because I was playing from Europe to a West Coast server, which is it's pretty much almost nearly on the other side of the world for me. So I was playing probably with about 250 to 300 ping. So I did suffer a little bit of rubber banding on some abilities. So when I did hit people, it might feel a bit delayed. Some weapons were better than the other. For example, ones or hit scans. So, you know, if I point and click at a target, it damages it without question. So in regard to some weapons, hit registry was perfect. You know, you didn't notice it at all. In regards to melee, sometimes I'd hit someone, there'd be a slight delay here and then, but you know, in general of hitting targets, the hit registry was actually pretty on the ball, really.
Yeah, everything worked out pretty well for me, to be honest, except for the range stuff. I apparently was pretty bad with the aiming, but I also, to be honest, I don't have the greatest graphics card, and a couple times it was kind of getting choppy with some drop frames, and I don't know if that was on my end or the engine's end, but I mean, it's a 280 or 290, but it's an AMD, so it's not really great. But yeah, other than that, I mean, when I was melee, everything seemed to be registering just fine.
Just so you guys don't feel too bad, I built my PC specifically for Ashes of Creation. So I have like, the 1080 Ti. I'm literally in California, so I'm connecting straight to their server. They're probably an hour drive from me. And I still experience some rubber banding every now and again. As far as the hitboxes are concerned, there was a few times where I felt like I got headshots. I mean, 90% of the time when I felt like I had a headshot, I had a headshot. But that 10%, it was like, I'm pretty sure I stabbed you in the face just now. But it showed as a body shot, so.
Alrighty, well, I think that takes us to the end of our segment for today. I'm gonna go ahead and have Virtek, Reckless, and DeathsProxy go ahead and plug themselves before I go ahead and finish this off here.
Go for it, Death. You start it up.
Oh, shameless self-promotion, that's what I'm good at. You can check out my content at /DeathsProxy at YouTube, and you can also check out my Twitch at /DeathsProxy UK at Twitch, and follow me on Twitter as well, which is DeathsProxy once again. Not hard to find.
I'm Reckless.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Virtek.
Oh no, you're in, man. You started.
I'm Reckless. You guys could feel free to follow me on Instagram at reckless_PvP. And also feel free to join my gaming community on Twitch at 2Reckless. That's the number 2 and Reckless.
And me, you can find me pretty much anywhere under either Virtek or DJ Virtek, depending on where you're looking at. You're either gonna find me, you're gonna find some company that makes lasers, or some guy in, I don't know, Russia or Romania or something else. He's a DJ too, apparently. But on Twitter it's DJ Virtek. On Twitch it's DJ Virtek. I've been talking in chat, so you'll see me there.
And finally, I'm Chibi Bree. You can find any of my stuff, Twitch /Chibi Bree, Twitter Chibi_Bree. And I'm not really doing a whole lot on my YouTube, but I do have an Instagram if you guys want to check out my cosplay stuff. It's not the best because I just started this year, but it's something. As far as following us, we are on YouTube. We're on Anchor. We're obviously here on Twitch. We're on Twitter, all /Ashes-Party of 5. And we even have a website where you can find links continuing on from what Proxy, Reckless, and Virtek have said at ashes-partyof5.com. And you can definitely come and join in to our Discord and come chat with us anytime when we're not live. As far as what's gonna come up for the next week, we are going to continue following Ash's stress test, and we'll report back to you with the changes that we find, and if there's any new headaches for us or any new delights that we have. As always, please feel free to join our Discord or tweet at us and give us any topic ideas that you have or anything that you are interested in hearing us talk about in general. And if you ever want to become a guest, there's also a way to join us there. In the meantime, thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you next time.